Hey guys, welcome to another, well, not another episode because I am starting um, a new section or series. Um, I'm starting a new series called Intro to C++, and the reason why I am starting this new series is because, well, some of my friends wanted me to create beginner tutorials for C++ so they can understand it better. And this is for anybody who wants to start programming with C++. So we are going to be using Visual Studio 2013. At least that's what I've got. And you can download it if you Google Visual Studio. Actually, just do Visual Studio. You go here into the first link that you see, and you want to get this one, Download Community 2015. Now, I am using 2013, but there shouldn't be much difference in 2015. So you click on that download link and it'll start it. So you just click save and you want to install it. I've never used this version, but I think you might have to download a compiler for it. I'm not 100% sure. I know that in previous versions you don't need to download any extra stuff. It already comes with a compiler, but if you try to follow this tutorial and it doesn't work because you can't compile, then that is a big sign that it's saying to get a compiler. So you would have to do that on your own unless I decide to get that one as well. But I already have multiple Visual Studio stuff. So every time I start a new series or well a new tutorial section within the series, I will be uploading them into my GitHub repository. So all of your guys's examples, if you want to follow and look at my code, I will be posting this link in the description of every video I upload. So you can go in here and then you will have to, well, first make an account if you do not have one yet. It's free, you don't need to pay. Once you have that set, you're gonna want to click this button. What this is gonna do the first time, since you don't have a program, the GitHub program or Git, it's gonna want you to download it. So go ahead and download and install that. Once that is installed and set up, and you log in through that program, you want to come back here and do that same thing again, and it's going to show you this. So go ahead and select GitHub and press OK. Then it's going to ask you where you would want to download this copy of the repository. Another thing you can do, and I would suggest you do, is to fork it. What forking is, when you fork something, it's gonna get a copy of my repository and add it onto yours, so you don't have to go and find it again. Okay? If you do not want to or can't download that program, you can just download the zip file. But every time we do something new, you would have to re-download that zip if you want to get started with the new stuff. Okay? So once you have Visual Studio open, we are going to go into the File menu. Then we're going to go to New and Project. This will pop up a new project dialog. Make sure you're in Templates, C++, and make sure you have Empty Project selected. You want to name this whatever name of the program you're making. So I am going to call it Intro to CPP, and we're going to call it Hello World. Hello World is a program that every beginner implements in either tutorials online or within school. So that's what we are going to do, and I'm going to teach you the basics of how to use it and how to make sure you can compile this simple program that's gonna output the words hello world. Okay, so now press OK. This is going to create the project. Once it is created, you might see just this blank page. Okay, so what you want to do is go either to the right side or the left side and click on Solution Explorer. If you don't see it, go to View and go to Solution Explorer. Should be the first option there. Now, from here, you can either click on this pin to keep it there, or if you want to hide it, just click it again and it'll hide. And whenever you click on it, it'll show, and whenever you click out of it, it should hide. But since we don't have any other stuff to click in here because we don't have a file, it won't. So your solution is the project. Well, no, it's kind of like the container of the projects that you have currently or you are currently working on. So right now we only have one project. As you can see right here, it says one project, and the name of our project is Intro to CPP _ Hello World. Okay, within this project we're going to have header files, resource files, and source files. Okay, right now all we have to worry about is the source files. So to add our source file, we want to right click on the folder, go to Add New Item. This will show a Add New Item dialog box. You should already be able to see the CPP and .h files that we can create. If you don't, make sure you're on the Visual C++ drop-down menu. Okay, so go ahead and select C++ file, and we are going to name it main.cpp. Notice that you don't have to tell it what extension to use, because it'll automatically know what type of file you want to create. Okay, now let's start off with what comments are. There's two types of comments in C++ and C, I think. Yeah, in C. So the first one is a single line comment. This is for short comments that only use one line. So you would type // and it should turn green. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. So it should turn green, and then we can write anything we want. Like, this is a single line comment. Now, the comments are not part of your code, and they will not get compiled when you compile your program. What the compiler is going to do is it's going to look at these things, and if we have these two things at the start, it's going to just ignore that line completely and move on. Now, if you go into the next line and you start typing something, you see that it's not green anymore. That's because it's only a single line comment. We have a second type of comment. This is a multi-line comment. This lets you have multiple lines of comments. This is good for maybe the header of your file, where you put your name, your description of what the file is supposed to do. And these are good. Let's go ahead and do that. So this is good practice, because when you work by yourself and your code base gets pretty big, you might stop working on it for a while, and then you might come back to it to keep on working on it. And if you don't have any comments, you are probably going to forget what you were trying to do or within that file or that section of that code. So comments are very helpful to telling you what's going on, at least that you should write them to help you understand what's going on. And not only you, but if you are wanting to program for a company, or as a career eventually, it is good to have comments to help other people that are going to be working with you within the same code base. It's going to let them know what you want this code to do, or what you intended for this code to do. So they don't have to decipher it, because that'll just take too much time, which we don't have. So it's always good to start with, your name and maybe the date, I don't know, 5/2/2016, and then you want to, put the name of the file, and then this description of what this program does, or what the file does. So this is the starting point of the program. What else? We will be writing a simple program that outputs hello world. Okay, so that's that. So the next thing we want to look at is, what is a program? What is a program? Well, this is very simple. A program is a program is just a bunch of instructions to tell the computer what you want to do. That's all a program is. So you write a program to tell the computer what to do. Okay? All programs, and I'm going to write this down for you guys. All programs have an entry point. This entry point is called main in C and C++. So this main entry point is a function. A function is a block of code that does something, I guess. Okay, so now instead of us writing like that, we can just do a multi-line thing. So okay. So I guess structure of a function. So you have your type or return type that your function is going to return, and then you have the name or the function name here, followed by parentheses and parameters. Okay, and then you have the start of the code block, which always starts with the brace, the open brace, and always ends with that other brace. Okay, you must always have these two. You must always match these. If you open one, you must close it. Otherwise, the compiler is going to yell at you. And then here, we just do stuff. And then at the end, we return whatever the type was, the value type. Okay? So that's pretty much what a function is and how to write one. So let's write the main function. The main function is always returning an integer. Okay, so the keyword for integer is int or int. Then we do the function name, which is main. Then we do parentheses. And since we don't have any parameters that we want to pass to this function, we can do this, void. void lets the compiler know that we want that we don't have, well, in this case, because not always true, in this case, it just tells the compiler we don't want any parameters. This does not take in any parameters. That's what it's saying. Okay. So we open and close these brackets, and this is our code block. Inside here, we are going to run the program. And I'm going to add one here. This is the start or entry point of our program. So Windows will always look for this signature. If it cannot find it, then we don't have a valid executable and it cannot run. And even if we try to run it or compile it, the compiler will not let us because it can't find the main function. Now, all functions that have a specific type of data, like integer, have to return a value. Okay, so we do the keyword return followed by 0, and then we add this semicolon to tell the compiler this is the end of our line. It's kind of like putting a period after at the end of your sentence. Is the same thing. So here we just exit the program. The return value should be 0 if the program ran as it should with no errors. Now you might ask yourself, okay, so how do we know if our program ran with an error or not? Because here, regardless of it failing or not, it's always going to return 0. Well, true for now, but we would have to code special cases to check whether it fails or not. So we have to implement that and then just say return -1 or return whatever value you want to return as a exit code or error code. We will not be going too much in depth into that because we don't need it right now. But later on in tutorials like data structures, we will be looking at some of those. There is no set error codes. You can just make up your own. And also when we start working on video games, if you guys want to make video games, then we will definitely be looking into that as well. Okay, so make sure that every line of code within a code block ends with a semicolon. Okay. So what's next? Next, we have to make the program print something. Now we can't print by ourselves. We need a separate header file or a separate piece of code that is within the standard library. Okay. What we are going to use is a compiler directive. And this compiler directive, okay, so what is a compiler directive first? So a compiler directive lets the compiler know what you want it to add to your code or program. So, for instance, if we do pound define, I mean not pound define, pound include, this directive is going to tell the compiler that we want to import or add another piece of code with more instructions that we can use. What we are going to use is a library, a file called stdio.h. Notice, for first, this, all compiler directives start with a pound sign. This directive tells the program to add stdio file into our program. Well, tells the compiler, not the program, to our program. Notice we are using less than and greater than signs around the file name. We only use less than or greater than signs like this to tell the compiler that we want to search for a file that is within its directories outside of this solution or project file. If this file was inside of our program solution, then we would do this. Quotation marks. And then, the name of that file. So this includes stdio. So what does that do? std equals standard. So stdio is part of the standard library. And io equals input output. Okay, so this file is going to let us get input from the user and show the user output. Okay, so there's this function that we're going to use here from this file, which is called printf. and it stands for print format. And it takes two parameters, but all we care about is just one. It takes a string or a char pointer, which I'll explain in a bit what that is. A string is a sentence. Well, it's more a string is more than one letter. And all strings are made up with double quotations, like that. Now, yeah, a string can include this like that, but it's typically used for long words, you know, like hello world or something. So let's do hello world. Okay. And now that we have all of this, we are going to hit F7 or go to the build menu and go to build solution. Now it's going to compile your code and make sure everything is good, not misspelled. So here we see that we have succeeded. Now we want to run it. So to run it, you just click on that arrow, the green arrow, or press F5. And this will run the program. But notice that it just opened up and disappeared really, really fast. That's because the way the program is read or executed is from top, which is up here, all the way to the bottom, like that, in a linear fashion. So when it gets here, it opens this file and it pastes pretty much all the code right here for this file. And then we go into here and we go down into hello world. And then we go into this function and we do whatever this function does to print hello world. Then we continue going down when we return from this function, down, down. Then we get here and we exit the program. We are never told to stop or pause. Now you can see how the program is ran. If we click right outside on this margin, you can see a red dot. This is a breakpoint. So if we do F5 again, if you don't hit F7 before you hit F5 and you change your code, you will always have to, it's going to ask you to build it again. So you just say yes. Okay. So it's compiling and blah, blah. Okay. So now you see that we have a window and we have been stopped because of this breakpoint. Now, the breakpoint only exists within this environment. It's not part of the program. Okay? So, you see that we have a window. Now, if we hit F10, we're going to go down. Now, we are inside of our, well, we're right before the print function. We hit F10 again, and we jump to return 0. Notice that it skipped everything else that's on green because it's not code. Before we continue, go back to your program and notice that it says Hello World. So we have successfully built our first program that just says Hello World. Pretty cool, huh? Now, if we continue to press F10 one more time, we're going to go to the end of here and just press F5 to let it run again. And it's just going to go away because it exited. Now, to get around this, console applications like the one we have built are meant to be ran through command line. Like if you press Windows R and type CMD, this is your command line. If you have never used it, we'll be using it right now to run our program. So what you want to do first is go to this one, right click on this tab where it says main.cpp, and go to open containing folder. Actually, let's copy full path. And then we're going to go into our command line and we're going to type cd space, right click, paste, and delete main.cpp. Okay, and press enter. And no, as you can see, our directory has changed to wherever our main CVP file is. If we do dir or directory, it'll show us the contents of everything inside of this directory. If we do cd ... we're going to go back one level. Okay, so we want to do dir again, and actually it didn't. Okay, there we go, dir, and we I guess I went back too far. cd again, intro to cpp underscore hello world, dir cd debug dir. Okay, here it is. Here is our executable. If we want to run it, all we do is type the name intro to cpp underscore hello world .exe. Press enter, and we can see that we have hello world. And that's usually how you run these programs, since they are command line. But not always. You can actually run them like any other program nowadays. So what we want to do in here, so we don't have to always go into here, just type exit to exit out of that, or close it by clicking on the X. Now we want to pause the program. One way we can do this is by calling a function that's called get char parentheses semicolon. Okay, what this function does is it waits for the user to press keys, or to press enter before continuing. So until we press enter, we're not going to move or continue executing the program. This is helpful because it'll let us see what we're trying to do, and it's good to use this one because it is cross-platform, meaning that if you're on Linux, you can use this. If you're on Windows, you can use this, obviously. And if you are in Mac or any other system or operating system, you can use this as well. There is another one that teachers usually use, which is within the windows.h file, and it is called system, and within these parentheses you say pause. But this one is not so great because it is Windows only. Unless you're just making a program for just Windows, then you don't want to use that. Even if you are, you don't want to use that either. Or yeah. So there we go. We're pausing the program now. So press F7 and F5. And as you can see, our program is now here. It's not closing, it's not going anywhere. It is waiting for us to press enter. If we press any other keys, we can type. And then we can press enter to end the program. So, this will conclude the tutorial for today. I hope you guys learned some stuff. Make sure you guys, if you like this tutorial, make sure you subscribe if you want to. And if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, don't forget to comment below. Also, don't forget that if you're having problems with this, trying to run this program, don't forget that I'm gonna be uploading it over here. Okay? So try to see if you can fix it. Try playing around with it. Try rewriting it a couple of times and seeing if you can do it from memory. These exercises are will help you a lot. That is how I learned how to get better at programming, and my friends the friends that I teach, I always tell them to do the same, because it's just the more you practice, the more you get better at something. The less you do something, the less you won't get better at anything if you don't practice. So practice, practice, practice. At least rewrite this a couple of times. Once you feel comfortable, try rewriting it without looking at code and see if you can actually do it. Yeah, and that's it. For the next tutorial, we are going to go deeper into data types and what integers are, and what other types of data types. That sounded kind of weird. What types of other data types we have at our disposal, and what they are used for, and why we have so many of them. Okay, so I hope you liked it. I hope you have a great night. Have fun. Bye.